Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Demon Land podcast, a weekly podcast about the greatest football team in the world. My name is Andy, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Grapeviney. Good evening, Grapeviney.
Good evening, Andy, and good evening to all the listeners out there. Not only the greatest football club in the world, but the oldest football club in the world. I think we sometimes forget just how magnificent our heritage is across world sport.
So is that true? I don't know. I've heard that thrown out a lot, but I've never actually done any research. Are we the oldest continuing football club?
Yeah, I can't remember which club it is. One of the European football sides was formed in 1859, which is a year obviously after us. So I think technically we are the oldest football club in the world. So
they say we're the oldest football club. Was there no one else that joined us at the time? Who were we playing at that time?
I think Geelong might have been around the same time, and I think they might have officially formed a year or two later.
Yep.
But I've just done a very quick Google search, and it's saying here Notts County were formed in 1862, but that's a list of football clubs in England and Wales.
No, we don't count rugby, so yes, we'll take the oldest football club. Yes, I'll take
hold
that.
It might actually be Sheffield.
All right, well. Do we need to go back and restart the podcast to make sure we're the fourth and a half?
Shouldn't have opened up such a can of worms at the beginning.
We're going to have people writing into us, from Sheffield, telling us, I want a retraction because you are not the oldest football club in the world, but we are the oldest AFL football club, or VFL as it was at the time.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. So let's leave it at that, shall we?
All right, we will do that. If anyone wants to call the show, and you can call us anytime. The first few episodes, we had lots of people calling in, and we really do want to hear other people's opinions. We can talk all night, but it's good to hear other Demon Landers and their opinions and how they saw the game, a different point of view. So if you would like to call, two ways you can do it, and you can call anytime, 03 9016 3666, or you can Skype us, Demonland31. So any page you go on to Demonland now, you'll be able to see those phone numbers and those ways to contact us. So if you're listening to us live, give us a call. And if you're not listening to us live, please do listen to us live. We're usually on every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. This week we are on Tuesday night because I have something on tomorrow night. So we've just been flexible, which we can do here. But
it might have thrown some of our listeners. I'm just looking, the chat room's very quiet. We've usually got a bit of a gathering in there, but perhaps people are busy doing other things or listening and otherwise engaged. And I can just clarify what we opened with. According to Wikipedia, Sheffield Football Club, which is obviously an English football club, they count themselves as the oldest football club in the world, having been formed in 1857.
And is that
according to Wikipedia?
That's soccer?
So
is that soccer?
That's soccer.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
So that would predate us by a year, but there you go.
Yeah, well, we're not going to count that. So we're here to talk about the greatest game in the world, and that is AFL football. And we took that greatest game to another part of Australia, and that is the Red Centre. And yes, what a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of a night that was. I don't know about you, but I was sort of midway through that third quarter. I was ready to turn the TV off. I don't often do that, but I was very frustrated, and I was reading Demonland at the time, and I wasn't the only person that was considering or had already turned off the TV.
Yeah, it was, as you say, it was a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde game. And it's funny because even in the first half, we had patches where I thought we were going okay.
Yeah.
We restricted them all right for most of the first quarter when they had the wind, and even sort of, had quite a bit of play in the second, but couldn't put it together on the scoreboard. And then, of course, the game just broke open midway through that third quarter, and we dominated from there. But there were definitely patches in the first half where we looked lifeless and listless, and the players just looked really sluggish and not interested, basically. So it was a funny game, but not in a ha-ha kind of way.
Yeah, it was like, I thought, and I'm not sure if we were doing it to ourselves or they were doing it, but our forward line was so congested, and we were getting it into our forward line quite a bit, and as you said, we couldn't score, and part of that was because it was so congested. And you have a look at later on in the game when we sort of were playing a two-man forward line, and we had, all the players coming off the half-back line, and I think that must have been a bit of a tactic to sort of relieve the congestion of our forward line.
Yeah. I mean, there were times where it just didn't work, did it? And kicking in long and high, just faded the Gold Coast defenders, and they, had an absolute day out. Well, part of a day out, I suppose. We're able to sort of shake things up after half time. But, look, the makeshift forward line, it just continues to get its job done, despite sort of the dysfunction that we see even for different sort of stretches of the one game. We can score and score quickly. We've seen that in sort of almost every game, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess probably now is the time to sort of talk about, in particular our ability. You just said how we have the ability to score quickly and rapidly, and get back into the game. But why are we having that need to do that? Why aren't we starting the game off like that? What?
Well, we've made a habit of becoming the comeback kids, basically. I think we've been behind by about 4 goals or more in 8 of the 10 games we've played.
Well,
I think from memory only Geelong and Richmond are the only games where we've sort of been in the lead. I think the rest of them we've come back, haven't we? Came back against St Kilda.
Yep. Well,
came back against Carlton.
Someone started a thread on Demonland, and I actually like what they were saying. I don't like. I sort of agreed with what they were saying. I don't like it, but the thread was our starts, our game plan, and fearless footy. And I'll just read the first post because it's quite relevant to this topic. Our total first quarters this year have been 157 points for and 253 points against. That's a 100-point differential, for against.
Yep.
And it's a real problem. And as much as you will hear that it is between the ears and that we are not switched on, Fat Tony's theory, Fat Tony is the original poster of this thread, his theory is that it is to do more with our game style. And the way he interprets that, our game plan is that it is to control the ball at the stoppages, going backwards by handball until we can hit up a short kick. This usually costs us a good 50 metres in territory from the initial stoppage and requires a good half dozen handballs. The other key tenet to our game plan is being bold in going for kicks into the centre corridor, trying to pinpoint through the opposition zone. Both strategies are sound if our skills are good enough, but are coming unstuck early in the game when the opposition pressure is high. In Fat Tony's opinion, we should be much more willing to kick to a contest early in the game, particularly out of stoppages, but also down the line from defence. Then, once the game has opened up and the opposition pressure on the ball reduces, we can revert to try and play our fearless footy style. Does any of that sort of resonate with you, that the fact that, when it's really intense and the pressure's up early in the game, when there's fresh players and bodies and everything out there, that maybe our style that's coming unstuck? because of that pressure.
Yeah, the caveat though with that is that we've got a makeshift team at the moment that's extremely short on tools.
Yes. So the contests.
So kicking to the contest or kicking down the line or whatever it may be, we're going to lose those contests generally at the moment because, Max and Jesse are out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I sort of agree with the way we play. It's working well sort of later in the game. When the opposition's a bit tighter, but it's sort of not working in the beginning. But I don't. Yeah, as you said, I don't know if the to fix that you got to go along to a contest. Maybe there's some other way around it. But
I mean, the initial thought early in the season was that we had a good handle on controlling the pace of the game, so we're able to slow it down with stoppages. I guess we saw this probably to best effect against Adelaide, where we're able to completely sort of shut play down when they wanted to move the ball. And yet, when we had it, we're able to open things up and sort of get moving quickly. So I think, it's a mix and match of those styles, probably that Goodwin's aiming for. And it's, you deploy option A when you're in situation sort of, the situation that calls for that and so on. So, I guess we'll see more once we've got, they're just two players, Max and Jesse, but they change the structure and the way you play, surely. We'll know more once they're both back on deck. And hopefully that's going to be soon.
Well, we can talk about that a bit later on because it could be sooner rather than later, particularly now that we've got that week off. But we'll talk about that a bit later on. Maybe we'll just talk for now about some of the individual performances in this game. And, it was a game of two halves, but the one name that sticks out to me, particularly in the second half, and sort of a lot of the reports I read was this player willed almost the team back into contention, and that is Nathan Jones, and he had a fantastic game, and he was the catalyst to us getting back into the game, and I think he kicked 3 goals himself. So he's having a great year, and I think he's relishing the opportunity not to be the focal point in our midfield as he has been for the last decade, and he's sort of allowing him to play in the middle, out of the middle, sort of on the wing, off half back, and
look, he was great the other day, as you say. Willed us back into the contest, and then beyond Gold Coast, and look, he's having a pretty good year, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
There were those sort of patches in games where he was coughing it up a bit, and some of our senior players have done that this year, including Jordan Lewis again the other night.
Yeah.
But, Jonesy was BOG for mine.
Yeah, like Jonesy, he has had a few games where his disposal was just terrible, but it's never to the point where you'd say, see you later, Jonesy, go back to the res. He's just so important to the team. And Saturday night was, example number one.
Yeah, and his leadership gets questioned on Demon Land every now and then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not every now and then, pretty much every time we lose. People are like, well, there's no leadership and Jones is no good. And, I think there's been more than... there's been plenty more games other than just the other night where Jones has been integral to the victory. So,
this game, the game against Adelaide.
Seen that before.
The game against Adelaide as well, he was sort of integral to getting us, sort of started again, jump-starting us. Now,
just one thing, and this will be the last comment on that topic. George on the outer says in the chat room that he doesn't think Sheffield exists anymore, and I think technically he's right because there are 2 Sheffield clubs playing English football: Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United. So. Sheffield on its own doesn't really exist anymore, so maybe we are indeed the oldest continuous club in on the planet.
Well,
anyway,
there you go.
That's that.
Continuity is key.
But while we're talking about individuals, I don't know whether it's quite a serving of humble pie yet, but We're getting close to it, perhaps, and the closer we get, the better. I've got to put my hand up. I'm not a believer in James Harms, and I haven't been a believer in Alex Neil-Bullen. We've spoken about them both before, pretty regularly on the show throughout the year, but I thought both of them played arguably their best games for the club so far.
Yeah, I'll add another name to that list, and I was going to bring up these three players in particular. Melksham as well probably had his best game at the club. He hasn't been at the Dees as long as the other two have, but I thought all three of them sort of showed their best football, and hopefully going forward they can continue playing like that, because obviously that's what the coach sort of sees in them. And Harms, added to the scoreboard with 3 goals.
Yep.
Melksham was great in defence. He's hitting targets a lot better than he had been, and he showed that form that he was playing in the Resis the last couple of weeks. And
Nibbler, who's been very good defensively all year, was able to get a bit of offence into his game and also hit the scoreboard, I think, in the last quarter, and did more damage than with his disposals than he's managed to do on previous occasions. I thought he played a really good game, and that's what you want from those guys at half forward. You want them hitting the scoreboard as well as putting the defensive pressure on.
Yeah.
So, if Harms can sort of grab that position, he and Hannon and Petraka, when he's down there, they offer sort of great. They're great options as sort of medium-sized forwards.
Yeah, Hannon really. I think I said last week I was almost ready for Hannon to sort of maybe take a rest in the two, not a rest, but like to get some form in the twos. And last week, meaning the Kangaroos game, he kicked 3. He's kicked 3 again. He's really doing that medium forward job, and that's what he's in the team for. Sort of that job that Aaron Vandenberg was doing, getting those couple of goals a week, and so I mean that's really what we want.
He knows how to be in the goal square at the right time, doesn't he?
He's got the goal square.
Over the top.
He's got the goal square specialist, but that's why he's in the team. So
shades of Ricky Jackson.
Yep.
He used to infuriate opposition supporters by getting the Joe the Goose over the top. So. But look, he's in the right spot at the right time, not just for those goals, but he's taking some
he can take a mark
good
as
marks.
Well. He took a ripper on the weekend, was nominated for Mark of the Year. I don't think he'll might not get it this week, but he really can take a hanger. And while we're talking about Mark and Goal of the Week...
And Harms is a good mark as well.
Yes, he is.
For his size.
While we're talking about Mark and Goal of the Year, I was surprised that Jeff Garlett... wasn't nominated for Goal of the Year. He had that one sort of... It was
that little outside of the boot bender.
Yeah, it's sort of almost an impossible action to even kick that way and to then get a goal. I thought it was worthy of a nomination, and particularly when I saw what else was sort of up for nomination. I was a bit disappointed he didn't get
I didn't see what else, but it's good to see that he got acknowledged by being selected in the team of the week.
Yep, I think that's his second nomination this year, and he deserves it. He's having a great year. He kicked 5 goals, 4.
He could have really kicked a bag.
I think it's his
he missed some easy shots early.
It's his most possessions for the D's. I think even his most possessions ever. From what I've heard, it's only 24. It's only 24, right? But that's for that type of position. That's probably what you can expect. He's not going to be a 30 possession a game.
No, I mean
player.
he sometimes kicks 3 goals off 8 touches.
Yeah. So 24 touches. He had 8 marks. 4 tackles, and he's just his defensive work. And even if he doesn't get the tackle, he's chasing and putting that pressure on just by chasing. So he might not get the stat because he doesn't get the tackle, but his pressure is fantastic. He's having a great year, and I'll hazard to bet at this stage he'd be amongst the contenders for that small forward All-Australian at the end of the year. He might not get it in the end because they love an Eddie Betts, and Eddie Betts is going to win more games than he is. So, But he'll be in
and look,
the
Eddie's
mix.
not to be sneezed at. Eddie's
No.
really one of the great forwards.
I'm not nothing against Eddie, but it's hard.
And unfortunately, usually with the All Australian, they put a second ruckman in that spot rather than a second small forward.
Yeah. But he'll be in the.
Jeff definitely is in the conversation.
He'll be in the squad at the end of the year, if he, providing he continues with this form throughout the year.
He's on 25 goals already, so
he's online for 50. Let's hope he gets there because we sort of need that small forward that's going to kick those goals because this year. We haven't had the key forward there, so we've needed all the smaller guys to sort of pitch in, and he's doing a great job. Who else was I going to focus on? Yes, also forward player who's getting a lot of the ball, but not harming the opposition with his scoreboard pressure, and that's Tommy Bugg. 2 weeks in a row, he's kicked 7 points all up. Now, I hear you go, but are we liking the fact that he's at least getting the ball, he's taking the marks, he's there? It's just a matter of him learning to kick. What's your thoughts?
Well, previously his goal kicking had actually been pretty good, and that's not having looked at stats. That's just
thinking. I always thought he was
mainly. Mainly remembering the Hawthorn game last year where he kicked an important one in the last. But he's got that habit of finding a hole in the forward 50 and getting on his own and getting that sort of short kick. So, yes, you're right. He's getting in the right spots and just not finishing the work, unfortunately. Yeah. He could have, from the 7 shots, he should have had 5 goals too in, over the 2 weeks or thereabouts. So, the question about Bugg then sort of becomes, well, Salem's coming back this week. So,
but Bugg's being played in the forward line. Salem, I think, has to come back in. But
then you've got that conversation as to who goes. Harms and Nibbler
had good games,
are usually in that revolving door, but they both played well.
Well, there you go.
Wagner, I don't know.
How do you pick teams? Do you pick it on, if they had a good game? No, sorry, we can't drop them. Or do you say, well, you had a great game, but Salem is your first 22 picked, so he gets to come back in. And sorry, Harmsy or Nibbler or whoever, Melksham, you got to go back to the 2s. It's a good conundrum to have. We haven't had that.
I'm just looking at the list here of those names as to who might go out, and others of on the Demonland thread anyway, discussing changes of OMAC. Oscar's name has been mentioned as well, but Collingwood don't have.
We need tall. I just saw for Solo.
For Solo out. So maybe, out.
So that's another. But they've got Darcy Moore. And maybe we'll talk about this a bit later on because there's still a few players I want to sort of talk about before we go. But, it's a good problem to have. And, we'll talk about
Demon has just posted in the chat room that he sees T-Mac and OMAC should both be sort of swingmen. And that Oscar, and I think Ruzi might have brought this up, Oscar played some of his junior footy in the forward line, so maybe he could be trialled forward because his brother is certainly not a centre half forward.
We talked about that.
I think we've learnt that by now.
Well, we talked about that last week. In the Adelaide game, we needed to move some things around, and he put T-Mac into the forward line, and it worked. Okay, and I always think that's sort of a plan B move to move him into the forward line when you need to sort of mix things up and change some things because plan A is not working. We saw in the North Melbourne game, he was moved into the forward line for plan A, and I don't think he's a plan A player because he's not a natural forward. So and I think, did they start him in the forward line again this week? I think they
Yes.
may have. So
Yes.
I don't like that move. It doesn't sit well with me. I'm happy for them to, put him in there later in the game if things aren't working or after half time to mix things up, or Omac. But I don't want to see T-Mac start there now. I would prefer them play T-Mac in the ruck while Gorney's not there, and play Peterson in the forward line because he's a natural forward. But I don't want to see T-Mac as a forward. I'd prefer him in the back line or in the ruck.
It'd be interesting to see. A lot of people are saying Watts is battered and bruised and tired from having done the ruck, carried the ruck duties. And it'd be interesting to see Watts's time in the ruck, percentage of time in the ruck with Gawn playing, as opposed to percentage of time in the ruck when Peterson's playing. There's no doubt he does more rucking when he's sharing with Peterson.
Yeah.
I just wonder overall whether it's a huge difference, because at the start of the year Peterson wasn't in the equation, and Watts was always going to be the backup to Max. So he was always going to be doing a certain amount of rucking. So it would just be interesting to see, comparison of how much time is spent in there when Gawn's there and when Peterson's there.
Having not seen any indication of how much time is spent, just going by memory and just a gut feel, it seems like he was coming on with Gorney last 5 minutes of the quarter, thereabouts, and with Peterson it's probably sort of, well, it's not 50-50, but maybe it's 70-30 rather than a 90-10 sort of thing with Gawn. But that's saying that without having any stats in front of me, and I could be horribly wrong there, but I think he'll the break now will be the best thing for him, as it will probably be for Petraka. I think I don't know if he's carrying a little bit of a niggle with me or
I think
whatever,
it's perfect timing for Petraka.
Yeah, because
he seems to be rapidly deflating.
Yeah, I agree. Hibberd, once again, fantastic game off the halfback. It has to be the best pickup. I would say definitely
great recruit.
Best recruit we picked up this year, and that's even with a guy like Lewis, who had a lot of credentials coming into the team. But I would say that Hibberd across the AFL is probably the best pickup that any club got from another club.
He's going all right. There's no doubt about that. I think he's, as he might have got coaches' votes in many of the games, or the majority of them certainly been among the best every week. So,
and even in the Demonland Player of the Year, he's knocking on the door of Clayton Oliver, who continues again to have another outstanding game, and he's come Brownlow night. I don't think he'll be able to win it, because I don't think we're going to win enough games for him to do it when you've got a guy like Sloane who's going to have a lot more wins, but he's going to be up there. And credit to him.
He was super again the other day, that's for sure. Yeah. Back to his very, very best. So
now, I mentioned Jordan Lewis. Now, he really had a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of a game, because I thought he was...
he had a nightmare first half.
He almost looked disinterested at times. There was one time running through the centre that he didn't even appear to even chase. And at the time I thought maybe because it's hot there or whatever, but then I found out that it's really not, the weather's not really a factor. But he just, I don't know, he looked disinterested for a bit, and, thank God that sort of changed in the second half. And I think did he factor into the coaches' votes this week, I think?
Did he? I don't think so.
I don't know. Maybe I'm making.
He did. I think he might have got one.
Yeah, I posted something about the coaches' vote, so I'm just jumping on that thread as we speak.
I don't know how. He didn't deserve one.
He got 4, so maybe one of the coaches gave him 4, or maybe he got a couple from each coach.
Surely it wasn't Goodwin.
Maybe he gave him 4 votes, but even that's a impartial person, but maybe...
I thought he had a horror first half.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Turning the ball over and, But like the rest of the team, was as you say, Jekyll and Hyde. The second half was totally different.
Someone who posted afterwards, P-Man, posted that also one coach gave Lewis 4 and the other gave him none. So it doesn't say which coach gave him, but I do not think that Goodwin would have given him 4 votes based on the first half. You wouldn't think he would reward the first half with 4 votes.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the coaches have to judge opposition players when, probably,
they're not watching them.
A certain percentage of their focus is obviously on their own players.
Yeah.
Obviously, opposition analysis and tactics are all sort of important, but you don't really get to properly evaluate the opposition players. So perhaps not as much thought is put into that side of the equation as coaches do when they're sort of judging their own players.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting though. Like it's a if you win the coaches award or you're polling well, then I reckon it's a high honour. Arguably sort of arguably a higher honour than the umpires judging.
Well, it all depends on how much thought they put into it. Obviously, they know they've got to give votes, but do you think they're sitting there during the game thinking, "Oh well"?
No, I don't think it's not a matter of putting much time into the voting, but it'd be done quickly, but it'd be done informed by all the thinking that's gone into every player. So, when let's say they name 3 Melbourne players get votes. You know that it's come from a reason rather than just, we've got to fill these votes in. Let's give Salem some today and Jaden Hunt. He hasn't got for 3 weeks, so let's give him one. Yeah. So I think it's, when you're judging your own players, it's informed by all that opinion of their performance. So yeah, I think it's has value. In terms of sort of what the coaches are actually thinking about their own players, at least, if not opposition players.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we've pretty much discussed sort of individual performances of most of the team. We've discussed our first quarters, our terrible first quarters, and really it's got to start improving. We can't. I'm still waiting for that 4-quarter game. I'll even take 3 quarters at the moment. Actually, no, because we played 3 quarters against Fremantle and lost. So no, I won't take 3 quarters.
Well, I think, as I said, it's 8 games where we've been down, and our record is 5-3.
Mm-hmm.
So we won against St Kilda, Carlton, Essendon, Adelaide, and Gold Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Down in all those games by I think at least 4 goals or 3.5 goals, and then lost to Freo, Hawthorn and North, not able to get over the line despite comebacks in all 3 of those games. So I reckon it's a good stat, because when you talk about building culture and self-belief and self-confidence, it's great to know that you can be 4.5 goals down. And the players have obviously got the confidence and self-belief to know that they can come back. We've seen them do it virtually every week of the season. So yeah, I think that bodes well for the future. And when when we're up against it in the future, gets 3-quarter time in a really important game, and we're 19 points down, the players are going to have self-belief that they can do it because they've done it 20 times before.
Yeah, and we've shown that we can kick 7, 8, 9 goals. I think we kicked 9 in the last quarter, did we not, this week?
Yep.
So we've shown that we can do that, but, will we be able to do that in a final against good opposition? I don't want to be in that position, but it's good to know that we can come back, and the players know mentally that they can come back.
Well, because you're going to have days when you're down and out, and where you have to sort of win ugly or win in just a quarter of footy, and we can do it, or we're getting to the stage where we're going to be doing it more and more. So it's not all negative. Look, you'd rather not have to play catch-up footy ever, but we're going all right doing it for the most part.
Yeah, we definitely are. Now, we're at the pretty much midway point of the season. I thought I'd put a poll on the site this week to sort of get a gauge of, how people think we're doing. And I split up at least the first two questions, and the first one being, prior to the season starting, would you have been happy with 5-5 going into the bye? And that's where I'm talking about, when we got the fixture at the beginning of the year or the end of last year, and you sort of had a look at what we've got. Would you be happy with 5-5 now? And that's not taking into account anything that we know has happened this year with players being injured and all that, but purely from looking at the thing and thinking, yeah, we can beat that team, we can't beat that team. Yeah, I'll be happy with whatever. Personally, 5-5 prior to the season. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I probably would have taken it. I'm not one of those people when the fixture comes out, I sit down and I don't do the ladder predictors, and I don't really have expectations of we'll win this one and lose that one, because you're always going to drop ones that you've put in the bag or put in the bank, and you'll pick up ones that you never expected to along the way. And obviously that's happened. Yeah, it happens every season, of course. But
like Adelaide and Freo this year. You might have put Freo down for a win. And yeah, exactly.
Look, I did think we were going to be a middle-type side, either bottom of the 8 or sort of, thereabouts, a game or two out like last year. So I'm sort of expecting a middle-of-the-road type result, and 5-5 is that, I guess. So I still think what I thought at the beginning of the year, which is we'll be very close. There'll be a game or so in it. Thankfully, our percentage is very good for the moment. We're winning well.
And not losing
by a whole lot.
Yeah.
So, look, that's could prove to be really important.
That's going to be like
in an even year.
That's going to be like having an extra game in your belt. If it's a few teams vying for that final or final 2 spots, that's going to be like having an extra
so they
game.
want to sustain that.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's been really good so far, because for the most part, when we have won, we've won well, and most of the losses have been pretty close. So. To answer the question, yes, I would have taken 5-5.
Okay. So if anyone else wants to weigh in and tell us what they thought, about us prior to the season and so far this season, give us a call, 039016 3666 9016 3666, or Skype us on Demonland 31. And our next so scientific results from this survey. So at the moment we had 205 people voted, and 148, which is 73.27%, said no, they would not be happy.
Because everybody looked at the season at the start of the year and said, if we don't play finals, it's a failure. And 5-5 obviously doesn't, we're thereabouts, but by no means assured. And I've never subscribed to that theory this year, that finals, it's either finals or bust. We're such a young side, and people forget that, and they say I'm sick of excuses. And I'm sick of hearing that we're a young side, and that's just fact. And it's not connected in any way to the young side that we had 7 years ago when Jack Trengove and Jack Watts and Tom Scully were at the club. It's a fact of life. And, unfortunately, it's our 4th or 5th or 10th rebuild, and we're in we're in sort of year 4 of it, I guess. We had 3 with Roosie. And I think, many people just sort of see it as a finals or bust year.
So,
and that's why you get that percentage.
yeah, so 54 people of the 205, and that was 26.73% are happy with that, or would have been happy with that prior to the season. Now, the second question was, given how the season has panned out, we've had all the injuries that we've had, that's been well documented. Now, knowing all that, are you happy with the 5 and 5 at the bye? And now things almost reversed. Not quite. It's almost 50-50. We had 104, which is 51%, saying yes, they are happy with it, and 98 people, which is 48%, saying no, they're not happy with it. So I guess there's a few things.
Because there's a lot to take in, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, there's two ways you can look at it. You say, well, we've had the injuries, so yes, I am happy with that. But then there's a way of looking at saying, well, we've had the injuries, so no, I'm not happy with that, because if we had those players, then, you know. But then the question is, how it has panned out. So considering we have those injuries, are you happy with that?
Yeah, I think I'm happy on that one. I think we've done really well.
Yeah.
We've got a young team. We're missing structurally too, as well as just, for what they offer in Jesse and Max, and they're big losses.
But it's not just the Jesse and Max, because you play Max in there and then you free up, Peterson and Watts. It's important because it just means that because Peterson will be that guy who will go into the ruck for the last 5 minutes, freeing up Jack Watts not to have to go into the ruck and have his body battered, have him tired, have him running all over the ground. So that's important as well, that Jack Watts stays, in goal. So, it's sort of having Max in sort of changes a couple of positions around.
It changes everything.
It changes everything. So, yeah. Plus, it gives you Max takes marks all over the ground, and look, Peterson was still. I think the great thing about Peterson is, even though he's playing ruck, he's still kicking goals. He's taking marks in the middle of the ground, and he took a few sort of in the middle, running into the forward line, and yeah. I'm wrapped with Peterson this year. I've got a lot of love for him.
Yep.
So our third question was, will we make the finals? So going into that, into the home stretch, will we make the finals? And yeah, 53.
What are the results?
53.96. So 54% say yes. That's 109 out of 205, and 48. 46.
48% say no.
So say no. So it's half and half. So that's where we at. So that's the report card. So you would say where most people think we're a bit of just a pass at the moment.
Do you think we're going to make finals?
I think we can. I've said I think on our day we can beat any team, and that's any team we can beat. But also we can lose to any team.
You're sort of avoiding the question there. Do you think we will play finals?
I think we can. It'll be interesting. I think, look, I don't know, because I know we can beat the teams like the Bulldogs, but we could lose to Collingwood. I know we can,
But that's not just a Melbourne issue. The whole competition's like that at the moment.
Yeah. I think we can go to West Coast and we can knock them off, but we could play Brisbane.
Look, it's true. The difference between our best and our worst is still, that gap is still too big. But the whole competition's up and down.
Yeah.
From game to game and within games, we're seeing heaps of comebacks, not just in Melbourne games, but in across the competition. So it's hard to call that finals.
Yeah,
to make a call on that finals question, because it's just hard to call at this stage for me anyway.
Yeah, it's hard for me too. I just can't, because I know we can beat the Eagles over there. I know we could go over there and pull off a miraculous victory. We could go to Brisbane the next week and lose to them. I don't think we will, but we can. We've got that first half against the Suns. I was ready to get the razor blades out, So yeah. Anyway, that's our poll for the week. Some going into some good news. Jesse returned to the club today, and I think that's a good thing. But it's still up in the air about when he actually will return to playing. I'm pretty sure the club's not putting any pressure on him. I'm sure they'll leave it up to him to see when he feels ready to get back on the field.
Yeah, Dees all made an interesting point in the Jesse Hogan's return thread that he's come back just before the break.
Yes.
And if he wasn't thinking about playing on Queen's birthday, why would he come back now when they're just about to go on the break? I suppose the other possibility is he wants to, maybe you don't get this with the break, but he wants to return to the structure and routine of his job, which is football, and, maybe that environment gives him something that he perhaps needs at the moment in his sort of mental and physical recovery. It could be, it could just be the hanging around the club and the mates that he's got at the club, which he might find preferable to being back at home in Perth. I don't know. We can only speculate, can't we? We don't really know.
Were they making the leap that because he's coming back for those few days when he could have just taken a few extra days, are they making the inference that means he's going to play Queen's birthday?
Yeah, or that he's trying to be fit for Queen's birthday. It's really, look, it's hard to know. There's almost no point really speculating because we don't know how he's going physically, or emotionally. So whether he's ready to go right now or needs a few more weeks. But I know you had, I think you posted the picture up, which was a still from video footage where, as you said, he looked like he was running away from a current affair. And I think it was some older Australians.
I think it was a mixture, and it wasn't anything against Jesse. It was just the picture that the media had put up there. It was a few things. It was the grainy footage that taking the footage from afar type of thing. And having that watermark splashed on it just looked like one of those current affair stories that they put up. But
no, it was a good call. But look, it's hard not to feel, to just feel sorry for Jesse. Yeah. Not sorry for him.
Well, he wouldn't want to.
But he doesn't. The media. We've heard players say that he's not that comfortable in the spotlight.
Yeah.
He tends to be more introverted than sort of an extrovert.
Yeah.
Some players are at home in front of the cameras. He's not really one of those, I don't think.
No.
And he's had all this stuff to deal with.
Yeah.
You're talking about a young kid who's then faces sort of cameras as soon as he steps off the plane, and that just adds, it just makes things sort of more uncomfortable for him, I suppose. So it's hard not to feel for him at the moment with what he's had to deal with the past couple of months. And look, the press will be ringing the club every day. Everyone will want the story. Jesse to open up about his cancer fight, and I'm sure the club will protect him as they need to do, so that he's not exposed to anything more than he needs to be exposed to on that front. So I'm sure the club will do the right thing in that regard.
Oh, yeah, the club's been sort of fantastic with sort of handling...
I mean off the field as well as on the field. Obviously, they're not going to rush him either, but, I think he probably just needs a bit of insulation from the glare of it all, because they'll be gunning for him at training. He's obviously a big story, so...
Yeah, most definitely. So that's Jesse.
If he comes in, who goes out then?
Again, another great problem to have. But if he's ready, then you play him. if he's not, I'm happy for him to come back the next week against the Dogs and possibly Gawn joining him.
Yeah, it'd be a nice double, wouldn't it?
It would be. Yeah, I don't know who you drop. I wouldn't want to be one of the selectors because there's lots of variables, and I guess it depends on matchups with defence and whether you drop. I don't even know whether Omac gets dropped.
Well, see, people can't envisage Peterson being dropped now because he's done so well in his role, but his head would be on the chopping block.
I would want to play him. I think he's a good asset up
I'm
forward.
talking about when Max is back.
Yeah, even with Max back, I like him at centre half forward.
Yes, I know you're a big fan. I'm a fan too. I'm not a critic.
Yeah. Well, this is the problem we've been waiting to have selection problems. And George on the outer has said, what about Spencer being available for Queen's birthday as well? I don't know. That depends whether he needs to have a run in the twos before that, but, that's matchup.
How long has it been? 4 weeks, I think.
Is Casey playing this week?
5 weeks.
But I don't even know if Spencer's available.
I think Casey are playing Coburg from memory.
And I don't even know if Spencer's ready this week to play Rezzies. But yeah, do you play? Because who have they got in the rucks? They've got Grundy, who can take marks around the ground. So you really need, I was just watching a bit of their game against Brisbane. I saw him take a few marks around the ground.
Yeah, I think he's been in good form.
Yeah, so, you don't want... I remember last year when they decided to play 15 ruckman against Max Gawn. Well, that was their whole... that was their way of taking apart Max Gawn, and Max Gawn took them apart, I think. Kicked 3 goals as well as destroying them in the ruck. Well... It's most likely Max isn't going to play, so do you bring Spencer in?
Spencer might get one shot before Max is back.
Because they've got some talls. Who have they got? That American's not playing with them at the moment, so who have they got? They got
Cox.
Cox, but they've got Darcy Moore. We said before Fasolo won't play.
Yeah, although Fasolo's more of a medium.
Yeah, it's a medium.
But
I would love Jesse to be in and play on Dunny.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and I suppose, who's Jeremy Howe going to go to? Dunny, they both played on the weekend. Dunny played.
I saw them at one stage quite close together, and I was like, I know those two guys.
It's, oddly enough, the Blues Brothers was on the other night, got the band back together, so fitting and timely. Were you in the match day thread on the weekend?
Yeah, I was
during the game.
Yeah, I was. It was moving very quickly, so I don't know if I read every post.
Because there are some people. I've almost got a list of them now. There are some people who are only ever around during the bad times. And I'm talking about game day threads and also the rest of the board. And they only ever pop up after a loss. You don't ever see them celebrating a win, in the post-match discussion. Yeah. And I could name names, but I won't. And one of them I'm thinking of is in the game day threads, calling for every player to be executed, basically. And another one who only ever pops up when things are going bad and sort of starts threads, about how disappointed he or she is about with the world and how Melbourne, is the root of all evil. So shame on those posters because that is poor form. You should be here for the highs as well as the lows. It's not good enough just to take pot shots at the club and the players when things are going bad. You should be singing the song in the circle with the rest of us when we win.
Yes. Now, I was going to say you do realise there is an ignore feature on Demonland, but then I remembered that you are a moderator and you should have to read every post that is posted so that you can weed out any of
That's
the
right.
illegal
That's right.
stuff. Not necessarily posts you don't agree with, but stuff that sort of crosses the line. So sorry, you cannot ignore
Right,
any
thank you.
posters. You have to read every post, unfortunately, and yes. But yeah, look, you're going to get that, particularly when we play interstate, and most of us or all of us are watching on TV.
Yeah, because we're not sitting in the crowd.
Yeah,
And
so
can't scream.
Yeah, that's that as well. But well, I don't know. I scream. My kids
Yeah,
and
that's
wife
true.
look at me funny. But when we're at the game, I'm never on the game day thread. I'm not reading anything. Sometimes I might have a look at quarter time, half time, on the train on the way home. But when I'm at home and sitting on the couch, I find it easier to sort of do that. And I don't know why, because I've still got to keep my eyes on the screen. I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm at home watching by myself and I can be antisocial. I don't know. You don't. I know you don't look at the game day thread when you're at the game.
I do at quarter and half and three-quarter
But
time.
not during
I
the
can't
game.
I can't believe, like, people post a lot, and I can't understand how they're watching the game and posting at the same time.
Is this when you're on TV or when you're at the game? When they're at the game?
Well,
Or both.
Both, I guess.
I find it easier to do when I'm watching TV because I can sort of do that. I can multitask.
No, I mean,
like
reading's
that.
one thing, or keeping your eye on it, but if you're posting every 10 seconds, how can you watch the play? You've got to post. So I've sort of,
There's also the flood control, which I don't think allows you to post once a minute. You can only post. So.
That's right. Somebody raised that. And isn't there also, you're only allowed to like a certain number of posts in a day?
Oh, is there? I think that's.
Yes,
I think it's there.
I think there's a natural cap on that.
Yeah, there is. I know there's
forum software.
I know there's a setting that I can actually change that. But do you know what it is? And do you feel? And maybe someone can ring in or even post it in the chat. And just for those listening to this podcast later, we do go live every Wednesday at 8:30, and you can join us in the chat at demonland.com/podcast. We have a live chat that's only open while we're doing the podcast, and you can chat to us, and you can answer questions or ask questions and whatever. But I want to know, and Mike, I can probably have a look on the back end, but you've raised a point that you can only like so many, and I think that's there so that you can't just like a million posts. But if it's only like 5 or 10, does it need to be more? I don't know.
I'll tell you, it was Dr. Gonzo that raised it. So he must have reached the limit one day.
And said you can no longer like a post.
And then I think he asked, and I thought Nasher might have gotten back to him and said that there was a certain limit
there
on
is.
it.
I know there is a limit. I've seen the...
and Dees has just posted that Nasher changed...
Oh, he did change it.
Changed the settings, and it's unlimited.
Oh, he didn't ask me that. Maybe that'll put strain on the server because too many people are...
Too many likes.
Yes, let me have a look.
Could take us offline.
Yeah, I doubt that. But I know that it's actually changing. With there's new software that's going to be coming out. It won't look terribly different. It's not a huge, big change to the current software, but there's a whole new liking system. And I know you're not on Facebook, but many of us are on Facebook. And Facebook has now more than just likes. You can like, you can be sad, you can be angry. So they're going to have a few more different reactions you can do to posts. That's what I've seen from the notes about it.
What we need, and it's just been deployed by Rafiki in the chat room, is we need a Simon Goodwin emoji. We've still got Roosie, and the Roosie one should stay because it's it's a good one, the Roosie one.
Yep.
But I've got actually a couple of good pics of Goody. I might send them to you, and maybe we can get a Simon Goodwin.
Are you sure
happening.
we don't have one? I'm positive we did. Go to the emojis.
We've
positive.
got a.
Oh, I'm sure I put in two more.
We've got a PJ one.
Yeah, if you look in the Motorcons now, I think in like the one in the chat room, it's only got those two. But I'm sure I put Goodwin and Marnie in as well. I'll have to look that up. I might just jump over to a thread. It's compelling listening at the moment. The emojis. All right. No, it's
categories.
not. You're right. Yeah, you're right. But I'm sure I did it at one stage. So anyway,
oh, there they are.
Yes. Where do you see them?
They're right at the bottom. So you've got to open up. There's a little button that says categories.
Yeah.
And you do emoticons.
Yeah.
There's a little 23 next to it. You open
up,
that up and then down the bottom.
Well, that sort of makes it hard if you can't find it. I don't know why. Yeah, I'll have a look into that. But that's something we can do at another time. But yeah, in terms of reputation, there's the like button, and there's other things. I'm just having a look at the system. There's other ways you can do it. You can just have the like button and people can like it. But there's also another thing, a reputation thing. So you can either do an up or a down for posts, and that sort of gives a reputation level for people. So just say, I like your post by giving it an up arrow, and like another post of yours and someone else likes it, your points go up. But then if someone dislikes something you say, and then another person dislikes it...
So what, you get rated like a buyer on Amazon?
Yeah, you can be in the positive or negative. And I think we had that on years ago, for a while, but then certain posters were getting too many negatives, and it's sort of,
can't hurt people's feelings.
Yeah, well,
it's getting too complicated.
Yeah,
really. And
it just meant that you could see a person on their thing. If they had negative 50, you would know to ignore their opinions because no one likes their opinions. But I thought that might be a little bit mean, and we'll just keep it to the likes.
Yep, fair enough. So, yep. So, Goody and Josh there.
Yeah, I might have to fix that up so that they come up. You don't have to go hunting for them. But yeah, it would be... but they're just extra sort of forum things that I can fix up at another time. You sent me a link to the membership thread. What in particular did you want to discuss about that? Something about the numbers?
Some great numbers, actually, that show, and I'm just going to call it up now.
It was the average attendance of every side's home and away matches in 2017.
Yes, and we're averaging just under 40,000 at our home games.
Yep.
So Essendon are on top of the table at just about 54, Richmond at 50,000, Collingwood at 49, Carlton in fourth spot at 44,000, and then Melbourne at 39,500. So we're just fifth on the table.
We're just outside the big four. And they're the teams that always play each other twice because they're the big four, and the AFL loves those four teams because the stats don't lie. They bring in the most people to games, bums on seats. So to be fifth there is a good thing.
Yeah, there's a couple of factors in it too. One is that it includes Alice. Where we had a crowd of 5,000.
I mean, that
needs to sort of factor in. But also,
we would have had at the G, we would have had at least, who do we play? The Suns. We would have had 20, 25.
At least 25.
Yeah.
So, but then we've played 4 of those top 6 teams, so that bumps things up a bit. So we played Essendon, we played Richmond. And we've played Carlton and Hawthorn, so there's only Collingwood that we're missing. Their next cab off the rank. So we have played the higher drawing teams already.
But Carlton didn't have a huge crowd.
Carlton was only 30. Yeah, and Hawthorn was 35 or something.
Yep, and Essendon was at Etihad.
Yeah,
so
Essendon had 44, I think.
Okay, yeah, and we had that
Richmond
massive one, 85.
Was 85. So.
And just incidentally, Richmond Essendon the other night also had 85, so we sort of matched it with the two big teams.
Yeah, and those clubs have also played each other. So Carlton, Richmond started the season. Yeah. Carlton and Collingwood have played, and Collingwood and Richmond have played. So as well as Collingwood and Essendon on Anzac Day. So they've also played amongst themselves. So that's how you get those figures a little bit. But whichever way you carve it up, we're up the right end of the ladder.
And also Hawthorn have had a pretty dismal year, so their supporters, being as fickle as they are, have not turning up to matches.
But look, the Bulldogs are premiers, and they're averaging 2,000 less at their home games than we are.
Yeah.
So, for a side that's 5-5, we're doing really well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a good thing to have, because also that tells me that we continue on have a pretty successful year this year, and we're going to be in contention for those Friday night games, and getting the Friday night games helps with memberships. It does help with membership, but it helps with sponsorships is the word I was looking for. And it just means you can get more bang for your buck you get more bucks, actually, not bang for your buck. You can get more bucks because you get more exposure, and more exposure, means bigger membership dollars and supporters in the end, because, you get a lot of Friday night games, you have a bit of success, have a wide, huge audience, you're going to start converting little kids over time.
Yep, that's all true. That's all definitely true. So,
yeah, those numbers, I hope the AFL are looking at the numbers. I'm sure they are, because when they do their fixturing for next year, stats like that, they're going to work in our favour.
I think we go all right in the current fixture. We've already got, we have this year, 2 of the highest drawing games of the year. Fixtures, so Queen's Birthday and the Anzac Eve. So we can't really, we don't have the Friday nights, or we've got 1, I think, this year. But we've still got those 2 huge days. So
what do you think?
For a club that's, been where we were, we're sort of lucky we kept Queen's Birthday through that sort of crisis period. Yeah,
because we could have easily
when we were being thrashed, because we could have lost that to any of those bigger clubs. And it's the good grace of Eddie that probably helped us along to maintain that fixture. And with any luck, we'll get a big crowd in 2 weeks' time at Queen's Birthday.
I was going to ask you, what do you think we can expect? Are Collingwood supporters going out to the games? I'm assuming that a win for them this week will help the numbers.
Well, they played Freo this week.
Where? Let me look on my phone. I had the fixture up a moment ago.
Sure.
Over there, and Freo coming off a pretty big loss. Let's hope maybe Collingwood win that one. I never know. I never know whether I want a team to win or lose before we play them, but obviously a win will get more people.
Because it's so even, so it's often 2 sides that are roughly in your zone. So Collingwood are just below us and Freo are just above us. But
I'd love to get a big
let's
70,000.
say Collingwood have a play well on the weekend, then you could hope for 70 plus, I would have thought.
And that would be great for our bottom line.
Yes, because I think the break-even point is something like 22.5 or 23 or 24,000 or something in terms of hosting a match at the MCG. So unless you hit that mark, you don't make a profit, and then above that is all money in the bank. So it's the same. Looking ahead to next year's fixture, Anzac Eve is always going to be early in the year, round 4, 5 or 6.
Yep.
So it's our home fixture next year. We benefited this year because Richmond were 5-0, I think, when we played them, or 4-0. It was their home game. What we want is them to start well next year so that their members and supporters come to the Anzac Eve game, even though it's our home game. And what you want is an 80+ thousand crowd next year. And then it kind of becomes not the fixture's locked in. We don't have to worry about losing that one. But then it becomes sort of an 80,000 plus match each and every year.
Yeah.
because supporters just think, oh, that's the big game, we've got to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, then it draws a massive crowd regardless of where the two sides are on the ladder, and that's what you're ultimately aiming for, which is what Collingwood and Essendon have been able to do with Anzac Day. So, if we can get it to that point for the night before, for Anzac Eve, the Collingwood one will always be healthy because Collingwood have draw what they draw. So, those two fixtures are important, crucial for the club.
Yep, I agree, and I wouldn't mind us getting a couple of Friday night games next year as well to add to that, because they're always big drawing games Friday night.
Yeah, generally.
Not just crowd wise, but eyes
for TV,
eyes on the TV.
Audience.
And that's invaluable when every dollar for us counts. And if you can go to your sponsors and say, look, we're going to have, I'm sure all the clubs know what the figures are of the average watcher on a Friday night is. So, let's
Rafiki says we'll be at least 70,000 if the weather is all right.
Well, that's always a factor as well, the weather. And this time of year it can be raining.
It's funny because for the Richmond game, the forecast was actually for really bad weather, and yet we still got the 84,000. So it's funny once games get this vibe about them, and then bang, there's just that enormous crowd.
Yeah.
So
that was because the Richmond fans hadn't microwaved their memberships yet, so they were able to make full use of them.
Yep, absolutely.
So anything else to discuss? I think we've pretty much gone through all of our hot topics for the week. If anyone else wants to quickly call the show and give your 2 cents worth, 0390163666 or Skype Demonland31. This is your last chance.
It'll be good to chat to some of our listeners. We know they're out there. We get the statistics every week on how many people are listening, and it's numbers in the several hundred. So it'd be nice. I know obviously some of those people download during the week and don't listen live. So, but there's also a decent audience listening live, so it's good not just to feed off the chat in the chat room, but it'd be good to talk to some Demonland posters.
And I know you're out there because I can see the live listener stats, and it fluctuates as the show goes on. It goes up and down, but we've had consistently 50 to 60 listeners at a time live, which is great. And just going about our stats, we're consistently getting about 500, 600 downloads a week. And that includes the SoundCloud and iTunes downloads. So that's it's pretty good stats for a podcast that has only had 9 episodes. This is our 10th. We're sort of happy with those numbers. But if you would like to give us a call, give us your opinions on the upcoming game and in our report card in general this year. 03 9016 3666 or Skype Demonland31.
Someone did ask in the chat room earlier in the night, and we should make a mention of it. Alex Fasolo, you've mentioned, might be missing in a couple of weeks' time. He's pulled out of this week's game against Fremantle, citing depression. So he's obviously going through a rough trot at the moment and can't play footy. And look, it's getting brought up more and more often. That's for 2 reasons. One is more and more people are suffering it, but people are also a lot more comfortable talking about it. The stigma of mental health is slowly being eroded. So someone has started a thread on Demonland, and there's a few posts in there, and just there is a thread about it on the general board, which is pinned to the top of the general board. So if people want to continue the conversation with other Demonlanders who've had that experience or other mental health issues, there's plenty of plenty of your fellow Demonlanders online who've all put their hand up and have either suffered it or their partners have suffered it, or family or friends. So for those who are posting in that thread, there is also one on the general board where that discussion, I guess, is ongoing, and there's links to resources and things like that in there. So for just thought that was worth mentioning.
Yeah, it's definitely something that needs discussion and needs to be out there for a wider audience. And I don't.
It takes courage, doesn't it? To put your hand up and say.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not great that he has to go through what he's going through, but I think it is good that he's put his hand up and he's coming out there and letting it be known rather than sort of sweeping it under the carpet and just giving some other excuse for his absence. And it's it's good that it's out there in the spotlight, and the more people that can talk about it, the better.
Yeah, and Mac5, or Maxi, I think as he used to be, made a very valid point in that thread that you wouldn't think it's someone like Fasolo, and you don't ever really know. You can't tell from a person's exterior or outer mood that that they might not be suffering on the inside. Fasolo doesn't look like the type of player that would, and to be honest, no one really ever looks like the type that's suffering from depression. So it's, I guess, just a reminder to, and we always urge posters, to deal with each other in a friendly and civil manner, because you never really know what a person's going through, in spite of what they might be saying or doing or how they're acting. So, yep.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I think on that note,
well, that's not a great note to finish on, is it?
Yeah, it's not.
It's a bit of a downer. We should finish on some sort of positive. So,
well, the positive is that we had a win this week, and
that should be enough, shouldn't it? I guess
that got me excited. It's such a different feeling, having a win than having the loss. I must say, the last week I wasn't as bad as when we lost to Hawthorn. As in when we lost to the Kangaroos, I wasn't as upset when we lost to the Hawks. But these losses. And I think that when you're playing well and you lose, it's even harder than when you're getting, obviously than when you're getting pumped, week and week after week. These losses, when you should win, they just make it that bit harder. So when you do win, like last week, it's a great feeling.
Well, the board would have gone into meltdown if we'd lost. I mean, the game day thread nearly exploded anyway. Just on what happened in the first half. So there's enough people already on tenterhooks. So thank God the boys got back into it, because, there would have just been widespread rioting and looting and anarchy had we not come away with the 4 points. So I think we should just be grateful that...
And not just that, it would have changed the whole landscape of our season, being 4-6 going into the bye.
Make it very hard to factor in September calculations then, doesn't it?
Almost no chance. I mean, they were talking about... how many games have the Hawks and Sydney won? Have they both on 4? They're both on 4. They're behind us. But they were sort of saying during the game towards the end, whoever loses, that's season over. And I guess, Sydney on 3 wins, it's... they're only 2 games out of the... 2 games out of the 8. But, yeah, it's a...
The Zach Jones conversation keeps happening.
Yes, so he got suspended.
That's one that won't go away.
No.
Should he have got suspended?
Well, they made a big deal out of the whole punching thing,
and then didn't do it.
And then didn't follow through on it. So you're either making a stand or you're not. I don't know. That gives a mixed message. I guarantee you, someone punches someone in the gut this week, they're gone. I don't think they, unless it's one of the AFL favourites.
Yeah, it's a fine line, isn't it? You don't want players to be suspended for what Jones did. It was pretty innocuous, but yeah, I think he probably put the MRP in a difficult position. It was sort of borderline, wasn't it? Just given the fact that it was coming in the week of the crackdown being announced and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one to watch. But
so what will you be doing? What will you be doing on the week off?
So I don't know. That's a good question. I actually said to my wife, maybe we'll go away for the weekend. This is one of those years that I can't really, miss games. And I actually will have to miss. My family's going away in a couple of weeks, early July. We're going away as a family holiday, the whole family, for 10 days. So I'm going to miss. So
which game are you missing?
Well, I got to have a look at. Let's look at the fixture because I'm going to miss. We should have fixtured. I don't know why I didn't get involved in the organising of this because I would have fixtured it around the bye. Where's July? Oh, so we've still got a while to go. So I'm going to miss. I'm not going to miss the Friday night game, Sydney. I'm here for that. But I'm going away that weekend.
That's the first. That's the first weekend in July, isn't it?
First weekend in July. So I missed the Carlton game, and I miss. I think I'm back. Then we play Adelaide, so I think I'm back for that game. The Adelaide game in Darwin, I believe. So yeah, right. I only missed one game.
Yep. Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah. But I think I missed one game, but we'll somehow miss two of these little podcasts, unless I can figure out some way to get us on the air. I might be able to Skype into my computer here and connect you up. Like do it all remotely because I can remote into my computer so I can get the stream started, but I've got to figure a way that if I can Skype into that computer and you Skype into that computer, if we can talk to each other, I might be able to do it, but you might have to do all the talking about the game.
Let's see how we go. I've got a work event that I'll be going to in the first weekend of August.
Yeah. And
I just noted that's we play GWS at Marnica that weekend, and I've got good form in the previous 2 years when I've gone away on that weekend. We've won both times, although we've played two terrible games of football. One was v Brisbane 2 years ago, and last year was the Gold Coast game when Jack Watts kicked the winner and then took a game-saving mark and then kicked the sealer before Gold Coast had a shot on the siren. So if superstition and all that continues, then we might be able to get a win over the Giants at Marnica, which would be good.
Why are we playing them at Marnica?
Well, they play
a couple of games,
portion of their home games there. I don't know how many.
What do they get? 2,000 people to that game. Actually, Canberra probably has quite a few.
Well, no,
people
they get more.
Out.
They probably get more at Marnica than they do it in Western Sydney.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. Well, yeah, so we'll figure out what we do in that time. Fiji, I believe, has the Australian network. I wonder if that's still going. I don't know if you've ever been to Southeast Asia and the Pacific.
Ozstar, you mean?
Not Ozstar. There's in Asia, and I'm pretty sure it's also in Fiji. There's that.
Oh, the ABC's Australian network.
Yeah, Australia. Yeah, that one. And they play footy.
That's been defunded.
No, but I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
No, you'll have to check it
I'll
out.
have to look into that. Philippines still has I might have to duck over to the Philippines, but I'm hoping we go to Fiji, so I'm hoping that I can watch the game there. I should be able to get a few minutes away from. We're going with my father, so he'll want to watch the footy. So yeah,
Yep.
I think we'll be able to watch the game. But as in doing the podcast, we'll have to see the logistics of that. I might be able to pull it off, but then I'm at the mercy of a hotel's Wi-Fi being probably inadequate to hold a conversation. But we'll see. We'll see what we can do.
Well, it depends how badly you want it. I was in France and actually got in touch with the embassy to find out if they knew where games were being shown, which they didn't.
Oh, watching the game's not a problem because I just remembered I can pay the $15 for the month to have the app. But then again, I'm at the mercy of Wi-Fi, bad Wi-Fi, and getting a bad signal or whatever. So I don't want to watch buffering for half the game. But yeah, I can get the game, and yeah. So you were in France, and how did you get the game in the end?
I ended up watching at a bar.
So the embassy was able to direct you to a bar. Was this a grand final, or was this just a regular home and away game?
No, it was the grand final.
Okay.
It was the grand final against Essendon.
Oh, you weren't here for that.
I know, and I couldn't make it home. I was actually away on a work trip at the time. Look, the less said about all that, the better.
It's probably good you didn't.
When I look back on it now, I can't believe that I didn't go home for it, even though in one sense it was sort of impossible.
Yeah.
I can't believe that I didn't work out a way around it, in that I can't believe I allowed myself to be away at a potential premiership. It would never happen now. I'd likely quit my job if I was forced to choose between the two. But it was a terrible day because my girlfriend and I were the only Melbourne supporters in there. There was a room full of Bomber supporters. So they were all drinking and happy, and obviously it was a miserable day for us. So, as I said, the less said about it, the better. But yeah, you can get in touch with the embassy to find out.
Okay.
And you won't be the only person that's done that.
I wonder how many people have contacted the embassy in Fiji to find out when Melbourne is playing Carlton for a home and away match.
Well, I don't know about specifically that game, but I'm sure they've fielded plenty of footy inquiries, no doubt.
It's probably they've got a standard response. It's on the FAQ on their website.
Yep. It should be in that frequent traveller or traveller smart advice that they offer. You should be able to look up each country and see what kind of viewing they've got.
The Australian government advises you not to travel to Beirut because they
you
do not show...
You cannot watch games.
Please do not travel to Iraq at this time until the rights to the Middle East have been
they're still
out.
showing standard definition there. It's not worth going. So, anyway.
Well, I think on that note, we're going to play a rendition of the Grand Old Flag to see us out of the show tonight. We won, so we're allowed to play the song.
It's a bye week, so it's thrown us out a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, do we do a show next week? Do we not do a show? I don't know. Do we do?
I think we will do a show, but we'll just mix it up a bit.
Well, I want to try and get a guest if we can, just even to speak to someone, because obviously we're not going to have anything to talk about a game in particular. So.
Well, we've got a few irons in the fire on the guest front, so let's see who gets back to us, and I'm sure we can cobble together something of interest.
If you or anyone you know someone that we can do it, then we'd
get in touch.
You get in touch with us. You know where to find us. You can PM us on Demonland. If you are listening to this show on by downloading it either on iTunes or SoundCloud. You can join us every Wednesday night. Today was a Tuesday, but we're usually on a Wednesday night, 8:30. We'll be back next week.
Now, I know you said it in jest for people, to get in touch if they know someone. That's also partly serious because there are brothers and sisters of players on the board. There are people whose grandparents played for the club.
I'd like to speak to past players if anyone has a...
we know that there are people who have acted in an official capacity at the club in previous years. So by all means, if you've got a story to tell, we'd love to hear it. There's plenty of them out there, that's for sure.
Do you reckon, remember the guy who used to sit near us in the red seats, the guy, you're filthy, whatever he used to say. Do you reckon he can't be still alive now? But we'll speak to him if he wants to
Well, it's a shame we lost the red seats because it was a great concentration of supporters in there.
Is there any equivalent to the red seats? I know they've got the cheer squad that sits behind the goals, but there's where we sit. We sit in a premium area, just because that's just how we roll. But is there downstairs, like below us? Is that a Melbourne area? What?
Well, it's all Melbourne pretty much from the members across to the end of the cheer squad. Well, even beyond the end of the cheer squad, because the Red Legs then sit sort of in that pocket half forward
on the ground level
on the southern side. No, I think up on 2A,
2A,
2A.
Yeah.
So pretty much from half forward at the Richmond end on the southern side all the way around to the northern wing is all one form of Melbourne membership or reserve seat or another. I think below us, just to tell listeners where we are, we're at about half forward on level 2 in the northern.
Yeah, come visit us.
I think below us, I think below us is we're in is it Tridents we're in?
It's changed so many times over the years, but I think it's Tridents.
Yeah, Red Legs are in the southern stand. We're the Tridents. Further around from us are the Legends. And then I think below us is reserve seating.
Yep.
So I think that's just MFC membership, and then you pay extra to get your MCG seat.
Yep.
So, but it's great because I love sitting on that northern side, and that's where the cameras and that's where the broadcast is done from on TV and radio. And so you can hear the Melbourne crowd on the call.
Yeah.
So if you're listening on radio, there might only be 30,000 at the G, but they're all sitting pretty much underneath the microphone. So sometimes it sounds like it's 60,000. So we get a good representation of the Melbourne support in the broadcast, I reckon, just because of the way it's our membership is sort of laid out over the G. So I love it when our section's filled and pretty much all the sections around to the end of that cheer squad are filled. So when everyone sort of goes up at the one time, it's great, isn't it?
Oh.
There's no better feeling in the world.
Yeah, particularly when you're sort of coming from behind. As I said, I don't like having to go from behind.
Third quarter against Hawthorn is a great example where I think we kicked 6 or 7 goals. And the excitement in the air was just fantastic. And
against North as well, when we got to within a couple of points,
that's what you go to the footy for, isn't it? That feeling that you get when you're playing like that. So give us more of that, please.
Yeah, I'll
and at the G, where we haven't been able to really produce it. So.
That's another thing. We had another win away from the G.
Yep.
It's sort of the G is our nemesis at the moment that we have to overcome. And 2 weeks' time we get to
can't win a premiership unless you know how to play the G.
Exactly. And fine, because I imagine if we do make the finals, particularly if we're not playing interstate teams away, we're going to be playing most likely at the G. Even if we come up against the Bulldogs, where would they play that game? I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself now. They're not going to play that at Etihad.
In a final?
Yeah, they're not playing that at Etihad, are they? Elimination final or
no?
That's
no. I think the only finals that get played at Etihad are against interstate teams.
Yeah, like if we come up against a Geelong or a Bulldogs or
It'd all be at the G.
or an interstate team,
All be at the G.
but where it's our home game, yeah, that's got to be at the G. Yeah, great. So we've got to learn to win at the G because as much as I love Etihad this year, we've got to start winning at the G.
Yep.
And on that note, let's listen to the David Bridie Grand Old Flag. Oh,
Go Dees.
go Dees. So yeah, we'll be back Wednesday next week. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Great Viney.
It's the emblem for me and for you. Well, it's the emblem of the team we love, the team of the red and the blue. Well, every heart beats true for the red and the blue as we sing a song for you. Should old acquaintance be forgot? Keep your eye on the red and the blue. Well, the team played fine in the year 39. We're the team that no one can lick. And you'll find us there after the final bell with the spirit of 1926. Every heart beats true for the red and the blue as we sing this song to you. Should old acquaintance be forgot?